Hey there, everybody. Welcome to a new Power Book 2 Ghost discussion. And, we're more than halfway through the season now, which is weird because it really doesn't feel like we've had that much that has actually aired.
No, I mean, we just got off a big hiatus as well. So we've only had one episode since we've been back.
So,
and it was a good one.
It was a good one, yeah. We talked about it at the channel. We have a link to that in the description if you're interested. Now, the big question with this show is, obviously the result of Tasha'S trial, but the other big question here is, how long is Tariq going to keep this operation at school going before it inevitably blows up in his face?
Yeah, we've got some suspects of who we think is actually going to be the person that's going to trip him up or try to trip him up, because I just don't believe that things are just going to continue to be sort of smooth sailing for him, because things have worked out quite well for him right now. We only have a couple episodes left, and there are a couple of people that I think are going to end up coming in now to mess things up for him.
Well, we will break down the suspects, share with you a little bit of what we know, what we think we know.
Yeah.
And before we do, if you guys enjoy this discussion, subscribe to the channel because we have a lot more good Power Book 2 stuff coming and we're so close to 43,000.
You guys can help us hit that milestone, which would be really awesome. We would really appreciate it. But also being subscribed, make sure that you don't miss anything with us.
Okay, so the first person that I want to talk about here, and we hyped this guy up at the end of our last review, is Trace, Mr. Obnoxious Trace, who's just, this guy's a screw up. He's going to ruin it.
Yeah, I mean, he really is just entitled. He has grown up with privilege, entitlement. He just sees these drugs and is like, meh, I'll just take what I want when I want. Yes, Kane has come in and sort of scared a little bit of God into him by doing what he did, put him on the street, kind of left him with a bag of drugs and was like, and I'll see ya. And yeah, he got a little bit roughed up, but is this enough to actually put Trace in place? And I don't think it is. I mean, even when he was sitting in the back of the cop car and he was starting to feel a little more like, all right, I'm out of this now, do you know who I am? That kind of thing is still part of him, and he's still bringing that up, oh, we have this really powerful family and powerful last name. Why don't we just go to the cops and tell everybody what happened? I think that once Trace gets home and he's a little more back into the swing of things, he is going to have his, his ego is hurt. He thinks he's powerful. He thinks his family is powerful. I think he's going to be a problem.
I give it a couple weeks. I think, like you said, I at first, he'll take the warnings. He'll heed them. He'll still have those memories of being scared. But then, his family's going to pump him up. He'll be around all of his, toolbox friends a little bit more. He'll start to feel himself. And, yeah, I think eventually he's going to be like, well, I don't want to live in fear of this. I'm Trace. I'm awesome. I'm going to stop this right now.
It's going to be interesting to see if Brayden's actually going to be the person that's going to be able to sort of stop him from doing this, because they clearly don't have a very good relationship. But at the end of the day, they are brothers. So, I mean, if Trace ends up really knowing that this could hurt his brother in a way that would then also hurt him, because he's very selfish. And if something happens to his brother comes out as this big-time drug dealer or gets some sort of criminal charges on him, that's going to hurt the whole family. So it's going to hurt himself.
Hot take, Trace is going to die. This dude is not living past this season. Somebody's taking him out, whether it's Kane, whether it's somebody else in the Tejada family, Tariq. I don't think anyone's going to be that mad about it either, because Trace just sucks. Really.
He sucks, but he's kind of fun to watch, because he is just such an unlikable character.
Yeah, he's good in that, I enjoy hating him. Not as much as I enjoy hating Cooper Saxe, though. He will always be number one in my hate heart.
Okay, then talking about people that I don't like, let's talk about Riley. She'll be the next sort of suspect. We've seen that Saxe has told her to just stop, that it's done now, stop, break up with Brayden, get out of there, I shouldn't have put you in the first place, and now I don't need you to do anything else. But he also kind of scared her a bit, because she really is starting to like Brayden. And when he said, everyone surrounded, by Tariq is going to end up getting, a little bit of the blowback on this. That includes Brayden. So we've seen her now still taking pictures of Tariq's cell phone, snooping around, his apartment. Eventually, she's going to figure something out. She's at that apartment all the time.
She's at the apartment all the time. She's very, I think, still naive to a certain degree. It's like Trace. Trace is just a jerk, and he's just like boastful and arrogant. And like, I don't think Riley is those things. I think Riley is just irritating, and I think she.
Oh my gosh, she ever irritating.
Like, yeah, like she's designed to just annoy us. And I think she is that sort of like innately curious person who knows that Sax wants her, at least initially wanted her to be involved for a specific role. And I think she relishes it because I think she wants to feel important and she wants to feel like she's contributing. And it's going to be exciting for Riley until it's not exciting for Riley anymore. And that moment's going to come where she runs into the wrong person. And I don't necessarily think Riley's going to die, but I think something not great is going to happen to her soon.
I also think that Riley's going to be another sort of catalyst that brings Brayden and Tariq even closer together. I mean, their friendship has definitely been growing, and that for me easily is the best part of the show. I am really enjoying this friendship growing. This last episode was so good for that. I really liked actually getting to know Brayden a bit better, sort of a bit more of his motivations. He has been handed everything. He has this big name and privilege behind him. And when he was out on the street selling drugs and he came back and he had that feeling of like, I did this, I earned this is mine. Like, it wasn't handed to me. This feels so good, that it sort of has that same feeling that Tariq is feeling as well, because he also grew up with his parents that had money and was able to give him stuff. And he's also taking the same thing away, which is bringing the two of them closer together. So if Riley becomes a problem, I think if, push comes to shove, Brayden is going to end up being more with Tariq, and the two of them will deal with it together.
They'll find a way, and, both of them will be invested. Tariq has to be invested with Riley now, because they played chess together for hours, right?
He should have just kicked her out. I'm going to die on that hill, man. Why did he not just kick her out?
I don't know, but the last person I'll talk to is somebody who was just pretty much a ghost, pun intended, on this past episode, in Jabari, who we know already seems to be, I don't know, there's something about this guy. He has no problem plagiarizing Tariq's work.
Yeah, Jabari and Gary, these two characters just have not really intertwined into the rest of the show until Jabari decided to steal Tariq's work. That has not come back up yet, but I started to wonder if Jabari is going to sort of start to figure out what is going on. Tariq is behind this thing that's going on around the school, selling the drugs, all of that, and that they will end up coming sort of like a head-to-head where, Tariq's going to find out that he's been plagiarized, Jabari's going to find out what Tariq is doing, and they're going to end up in this spot where Jabari's going to be like, oh, I'm going to expose you, and Tariq will be like, me too, buddy.
I just pictured the Spider-Man meme where they're like pointing at each other, but like that's totally what's gonna happen here. It's that Jabari's gonna figure out that Tariq's behind this CourseConnect app, however in which he manages to do that. Tariq's gonna find out he's gonna have some leverage over Jabari, and I think Jabari ultimately, he's either gonna have to be okay with his career falling apart, or just looking the other way and continuing to allow Tariq to do whatever.
Yeah, and I don't think Jabari's ego, from what we've seen of him on the show, is going to be okay with it coming out that he plagiarized something after a failed book, and that seems to be his love of life, is people sort of praising him for being this sort of intellect book snob. So I could see Tariq paying him off with that book and his work and being like, you can keep that, but you're going to keep your mouth shut.
That would make Jabari like infinitely more interesting right away, because then he's like connected to the game, and then you've got Carrie who's sort of on the outside of all of it, and sort of where does she then fall in to all this sort of stuff? Because that's the problem with book 2 right now. We've got too many characters who just really don't matter all that much. Like, Carrie doesn't matter. Zeke, how important is he right now? Lauren, like,
yeah, and Jabari has that one thing. Like, there are a lot of characters in here that don't matter, and that's why this last episode is one of my favorite episodes, because it started to dive a little more into the supporting characters of Brayden, of Kane, people that I was invested in already but just wasn't getting enough screen time with them. There's too much happening.
So something's going to go down. I think we can all be agreement that, by the time Power Book 2 ends, which I think is probably early January, I don't know, somewhere around there, we're going to get a sense as to how this all blows up.
Yeah, I mean, there's a possibility that it's Lauren that stumbles into it, but I mean, I just don't think that it's going to go that way. I mean, she is around, so anything's possible. But those other three suspects are set up really well to be able to figure something out.
Yeah, that's where we're going, but where are you going with this? Give us your theories on it in the comments, and if you do like this video, subscribe, give us a like, and support us further. Check those links to the store, our Patreon, and we'll see you here next time.